Right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. I hope you've had a fantastic and productive week so far. I hope you can all hear me properly. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear, and then we'll dive straight into it. Lovely. Okay. Definitely can hear me well. Thanks for that, William. Okay, so yeah, let's jump straight into it today. Um, I want to pick up roughly on the same line that we were on last week. If you weren't here last week, or if you want a bit of a recap, basically what we started talking about was how you as students can now put your skills to work, so that they're not just sitting around in your head, but you put them down where they can actually start to benefit you. Whether that is getting some freelance work done, whether it's getting attention and exposure, whatever it is. But the idea is to use your knowledge to make a difference for yourself in your life and not just let it sit in your head. A lot of students, they'll complete a course, they'll get all of the skills, all of this knowledge, but they don't really know where to go next or what to do next. Um, and they end up just sitting around, and the knowledge that they have just stays with them and never goes further than that. My answer to that basically is do something, right? There's no right or wrong answers on what to do, but just make sure with the knowledge that you gain, you do something with it, because then it's actually out there and it might actually benefit you. So today, what we're doing is we're actually going to look at a few case studies of some highly successful people. Some of them are even amongst the richest people on the planet, literally. And we're going to look at their stories, right? How they got to where they were. I chose these particular individuals for this webinar because I find them I find that they'll be relatable to you guys, in that they are in the tech space. They started off development, and a lot of them started off in the exact same place that you guys are. They were students, they learned how to do things, and then they went on to do all of these great things. But along the way, they all faced some level of failure or the other. But the idea is they just kept going, right? But the thing to note is that they put their knowledge to work, right? That's the important thing. That's something that you guys need to internalize. I know we've said this a lot. We've said it over and over and over again in several webinars. Even some of the guests that we brought on mentioned the same thing. But that should just highlight the importance of it, because it's part of your learning journey. It's part of your growth journey, right? You can think about it. I mean, you can summarize it into a few simple steps, right? First, you have your learning, right? That's your online courses or wherever it is that you're studying at, but it's gaining the knowledge on how to do certain things. Step number two is to practice. Practice what you've learned, right? Now, if you're studying here at IT Varsity, you've also already done step two, because we have those demo projects and assessments where you have to develop an app based on certain specifications, just to help you put what you've learned to practice so you see how it's actually implemented, right? That is your step two. Step three is where most people get stuck, right? And where I want you guys to break that cycle. Step three is to develop on your own, right? Doesn't have to be for a specific reason or a specific person or whatever it is. It's just identify something, a need or a situation that you can improve for yourself or whatever, and develop a solution for it, right? Um, this is just going to be amazing practice and insight for you. Step four. This is the step that everyone is afraid of. Nobody likes to talk about, nobody likes to try new things because they're terrified of step four. Step four is to fail, right? You're gonna fail, right? Let's just acknowledge that. I wish we could say that you guys are all super, super brilliant, although you are. I mean, you guys definitely are brilliant, but I wish I could say that you guys are so good that you're gonna go out, you're gonna try things, and everything is gonna work out first try, no problems, just instant successes. It's not gonna happen. I wish that were the case. I wish it was the case for me, or but it isn't, right? Unfortunately, with the way the world works, you're gonna fail. But you need to stop seeing, people need to stop seeing failure as the end. Failure is part of the journey. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the phrase fail fast, fail forward. I can't remember exactly who said it, but it basically means, well, the fail fast part means failure is inevitable. So don't run from it, don't try to avoid it, rather do it quickly, right? And the fail forward means you use what you learned from that failure to help you grow, to help you understand the world and the industry better, and help it propel your second attempt, right? Use what you learned from the first time round to improve your second time. And if you fail again, use the second time's knowledge that you've gained to help the third time, right? Fail fast, fail forward. Don't be afraid of failure. Rather, embrace it, because with every failure, you learn and you grow. And that you'll see is a common theme with the case studies that we're going to be looking at today. John C. Maxwell stated that. Cool, good to know. Thanks for that, Daniel. Did you Google that, or did you know it at the top of your head? Because that would be really impressive if you just had that stored up there. ChatGPT. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, guys, I'm gonna share my screen. Just let me know when you guys can see it. All right, let me know if you can see the screen. Lovely. All right. So we'll start off with an easy case study, someone that you are all probably very familiar with. You've already heard his story a little bit, many times. I'm pretty sure we've discussed him a couple times here in the webinar as well, right? Who here knows who this is? Or who doesn't know who this is, who this gentleman is? A little bit of an odd-looking character. But he is Mark Zuckerberg, right? The face of Facebook, the face in Facebook. And he started off exactly the same as you guys, in the exact same place. In fact, when he developed Facebook, he was a student in college, right? And in his dorm room, he had this idea, and he he built the first iteration of Facebook, but it didn't start there for him, right? He started coding at a young age. He had a passion for it, and he would just develop different apps, right? Whether they were intended for release or whether they were for himself, he just developed. In fact, Facebook wasn't even his first attempt at a basic social media app. He had this app that he developed, or this website rather. There was no such thing as apps back then. Everything was web-based. And he developed this one called ZuckNet, right? Terrible name. And maybe for that reason or another, it didn't do well. It flopped. In fact, you probably have never heard about it because it doesn't exist today. It was one of his many failures, or what you can call failures, but for him, they were just learning experiences. He was developing to learn, right? So there was ZuckNet, there was a few others that he developed that never really went anywhere. Eventually, he developed Facebook, or back then he called it the Facebook, right? And it was developed as a dating website because he didn't have the charisma or the confidence to go out and talk to women, right? So he developed, just typical nerd fashion, he developed a website to work around that. And it picked up traction because a lot of his friends saw the need for that and they wanted profiles. And back then, it wasn't a social media where you could go and create a website, or you can go and create your profile and register and set up everything yourself. You had to go through him. right? So that was the first iteration of Facebook. But then he very quickly learned from that that wasn't really a feasible way, and he changed it, and it developed into the Facebook that we know today. Today, Facebook, or turned to Meta, they own not just the Facebook website anymore, but they own WhatsApp, they own Instagram. And I mean, you could very confidently say that apart from making Mark Zuckerberg one of the most successful people of this generation, his company, that little modest website he developed back in his dorm room, went on to literally change the world. Because of how popular it is, you can't really deny the social impact that it had, right? Entire generations were raised on these platforms, right? And so it changed the way they think, and therefore the way the world is today, right? Which is, I mean, a phenomenal achievement. But again, step all the way back and think about where it started. It started with just this young man in his dorm room who was learning to code, who had a passion for it, and started developing things, right? For no apparent reason. I mean, he didn't know that Facebook was going to turn into what it is today. I don't think anyone could have guessed that, but he just developed. And because of that, it ended up leaving somewhere. Whereas if he had just kept that knowledge to himself and kept it in his head, it would have achieved nothing, and the world would have been a different place today. So the moral of his story is just develop, right? Put your knowledge to use. He would never have known that Facebook was going to be what it is today. He just developed for the sake of it, for practice and to learn. Right. Second case study, a little bit lesser known figure, but I feel some of you may be familiar with him. This is Jack Dorsey, right? Again, very similar scenario. He started off at a young age. He had some work as a developer before. It wasn't very particularly noteworthy, and never really made it very big. He did have some ideas, just like Mark Zuckerberg, and he tried to develop a couple things, but they never really worked out. So, two notable things that he developed was one was this a dispatch routing software, which is basically like a type of software that security companies, police forces, even ambulances use, where if someone calls in a situation to headquarters, the headquarters can then dispatch a unit to that area. And it keeps track of all the available units in the area, who's closest, who will be able to tend to this particular situation, and very quickly assign someone to that incident so that they can respond to it. It never really went anywhere. After that, he tried to develop a podcasting software, a podcasting platform, where people just record their podcast and upload it and share it. That too never really went anywhere. It was a failure. It was a flop. This was his second flop. And there may have been a few more, but then eventually, using the knowledge that he gained along the way, he went on to found and develop Twitter, right? Twitter was his brainchild. Um, and talking about his previous experience, he directly uh, says that the success of Twitter and the knowledge that he had going into Twitter came from his previous experiences and his failures. Because particularly when he was working with the podcasting platform, he saw the need and the demand for shorter content, shorter, brief little write-ups, right? And that's exactly what Twitter is. It's just this micro blogging, like 50 letter counts for your post, and that's it. That idea he got from trying to set up his podcasting, and when it didn't work out, he went back, he analyzed exactly why it didn't work out. This is what he found, and he went on to develop Twitter. And long story short, I mean, you all know what Twitter is. Last year or the year before, it was acquired for nearly $50 billion, right? $50 billion, which is insane. And I mean, it more than certainly paid for Jack Dorsey's retirement and his children and his grandchildren, even. His lineage doesn't really have to work for the rest of their lives. And again, where did it come from? He was just trying different things, He developed several apps. They flopped, but he used the knowledge that he gained to develop this, and it set him up for life, right? His story is particularly inspiring to me because A, he started off again where you guys are. He was a student. He started developing out of a passion, and then he tried to take it professional. He developed a couple professional apps that were actually commercial failures because he didn't have investment capital that he didn't really get back from some of them. But he didn't let that stop him. He didn't let failure dissuade him and discourage him and lead him to, hang up his coat and choose a different career. He stuck to it, kept on going, and Twitter was the reward for that, and the $50 billion paycheck. Right. Next, we have a guy called Evan Spiegel. He might be a little bit more obscure to you, but I guarantee it, you have probably, or you definitely know his app, and you've probably used it yourself as well, several times. He, again, just like Jack, started off his career, he had some jobs here and there, and then he tried to take it professional and go the entrepreneurship way and develop his own app. He developed initially this app called, or this website called Future Freshman, which was this platform that helped students apply to colleges. And help them streamline that process of applying and then tracking their applications, see whether they are successful or not. But it lacked adoption. The universities didn't really adopt it and use it, and so students and users never really flowed to it and make it a success. It just didn't get enough traction. So that project of his ended up getting canned, but again, he didn't let it dissuade him. He kept trying, he kept developing. Eventually, he developed Snapchat. Snapchat was his product. And again, it was the knowledge, the experience that he gained that gave him the ideas of Snapchat. And Snapchat is probably one of the revolutionaries if you think about social media today. Many of the features, or some of the features that you find on social media platforms like TikTok or Instagram, were actually copied from Snapchat. Snapchat was one of the pioneers of those. And again, it was the fact that Evan started development, failed, learned from his failures, and then kept going. He failed forward. All of them fail forward, right? Does anyone know who this is, right? Anyone at all know who this gentleman is? He's quite a big name in the tech space, especially in 10 out of 10 Tawfiq. This is Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. But he started off his journey at the very, very bottom of the ladder. And he was just a regular developer in the Google in the Google company. He pioneered a few things. One of the first things he developed was this thing called Google Toolbar, which I'm sure most of you are not even familiar with because it never took off, right? It was a flop. It was this idea that he had. He went on to develop it for the company. It was never adopted widely, and so it was canned eventually. He then went on and proposed Chrome, Google Chrome. And because of his previous track record and because of the popularity of Internet Explorer at the time, the Google management and his bosses had little faith in Google Chrome, right, in his browser. To them, it was the question of why. Internet Explorer is there, it's incredibly popular, everyone is using it. Why is someone going to use Google Chrome? And that's such a hilarious thing to think about today because yeah, lots of people still use Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, but the very first thing they do when they open Internet Explorer is search Chrome download. And they go immediately to download Chrome. Chrome is by far the most popular search and browser out there. In fact, other platforms like Firefox and Brave, which are competitors to Chrome, are built on the Chromium platform. They are basically Chrome, but taken apart and customized according to that company's needs and requirements. But they're all still running Chrome, and that was this guy's idea. And it had little faith to begin with, but he tried it out, and it worked, it paid off. And the success of Chrome is what rocket boosted his career upwards and led to him becoming the CEO of Google, which is no small feat. I mean, CEO of Google, right? Google owns Android. Google produces tablets and operating systems and everything. And this guy sits right at the top because he had an idea of this application that he wanted to develop, and he went and did it, right? Just like the previous guys. And finally, the last case study we'll do for today is a man named Travis Kalanick. Most of you have probably never heard of him, and I'll be honest, before researching this webinar, I wasn't exactly familiar with him. But again, just like the previous guys, I guarantee you know of him or of his product, and you have almost certainly used it before. But before he made his big break, just like everyone else on the list, he had this list of failures that he left behind. Apps and ideas that he had, that he developed, some of them he put investment capital into, but they never really took off and they never went anywhere, and they have been completely forgotten. But he never let it hold him back. He pivoted, he made the most of his failures by learning from them, and he used what he learned to develop an incredibly successful app known as, known as Uber. He was the founder of Uber. Now, I really, really like the Uber example, right? Because Uber isn't just a successful app. Uber also is one of those apps that you can say changed the world. Uber kickstarted an entire industry that today is worth multiple billions of dollars, which is the e-hailing service. Basically, the service of calling in yeah, a driver from the internet, right? Uber may have not have been the first, but it was definitely the most successful initially, and it shaped this industry and really made it mainstream. Before Uber, the idea of calling someone, a random person on the internet, and then getting in the car with them and having them take you somewhere was insane, right? If you told someone that's what you were going to do, they would check you into a mental hospital because that's not something a sane person would do. But Uber found a way to make it mainstream and adopted it. And it shaped this industry. I mean, just with Uber, right? You call a ride, someone comes, picks you up, takes you to your destination. Uber was the biggest, but it inspired local spin-offs, you can say. So, for example, here in South Africa, we have Bolt. Elsewhere in the world, you have things like Lyft, which is the exact same concept, but different names, right? And all of them are incredibly successful, and you could definitely bet that they owe some of their popularity or all of their popularity and success to the groundwork that Uber did. But then this revolution went a little further, right? From just taking people and dropping them off somewhere. Uber Eats came about, right? Now you can order from a restaurant and have the food delivered to you, which probably became more popular than Uber itself. You know, you don't have to drive out to get food anymore to eat at a restaurant. Sit in your home, click a couple buttons on your phone, and within an hour, your meal is delivered to you. And just like with Uber, Uber Eats inspired spin-offs. Um, uh, Things like, okay, here in South Africa, we have Mr. D. In the UK and Turkey, you have Getter. Exact same principle. You call someone and they, you order it on your phone from a restaurant, and before you know it, your meal is delivered to you. And then there was the final iteration of this, which is groceries, things like Checkers 60/60. Probably everyone here has used Checkers 60/60 at some point. And again, you can bet your life savings that it was Uber that led to Checkers 60/60's success, right? Uber kind of started this whole e-hailing system and made people accustomed to it, made it mainstream, made sure that there was wide adoption, and then that made it possible for things like Checkers 60/60 to come about, and the industry was ready for it. Checkers 60/60 didn't really face any challenges with adoption going in because it was a concept that was already familiar to everyone because of Uber and Uber Eats, right? And again, step back all the way. Where did it start? It started off with just an individual who had an idea, developed it, failed, had another idea, developed it, failed, had another idea, developed it, and Uber. And the rest is history. So I hope um, that highlights the importance to you guys of just developing. You never know where it's gonna go, but it's not gonna go anywhere if you don't actually put what you've learned to use, right? December holidays is coming up. Many companies are gonna close. You're gonna have some free time on your hands. Don't let it go to waste. Rather, use it to level up your skills, right? Again, in terms of those 4 steps plan, for step 1, learn. Step 2, practice. Check and check, right? Step 3, start your journey there if you haven't already. Develop things for the sake of it. Use what you have. You have enough knowledge to get you going in this industry. Put it to use, and every time you fail, you're going to learn, you're going to become wiser, you're going to get more experience, and it's only going to propel you forward. So nothing is ever wasted. No experience is ever wasted. Let me just head over to the comments, see if we have any questions. Hi, Talha. Could you let me know how long it usually takes for your team to get back to us when we encounter issues with our code? I messaged Notando on Slack yesterday about a code problem, but I haven't heard back from her yet. Keenan, ideally, we would like your query to be answered within an hour or two, right? That's the standard we try to keep ourselves to. And it's concerning that you haven't received the feedback yet. So immediately as we after we drop off on this, I will ask Noltando why that was. But yeah, guys, we try to keep it as prompt as possible so you never have downtime where you're waiting for us to respond. If there's a situation where you requested help and after after an hour or two you still haven't gotten a response, message me or drop me an email. If you don't have my email address, here it is. Let me know and I will check in on that for you, right? Um, and yeah, I would really appreciate if you do let us know about this because I'll be honest with you, we're not perfect. And every time we mess up, it's a minor failure. We try to learn from it. But if you don't tell us about it, we'll never know that it happened and we'll never learn from it. So don't feel bad to tell us that we messed up sometimes. Everyone needs to hear that, including us. William says you forgot to mention 3 other important innovators: Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Bilal. I'll make sure I tell him that. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. But yeah, the list goes on and on. And it's also not unique to the tech industry. I just chose these examples because they are relatable and relevant to you. But in every single industry, including the entertainment industry, writing and filmmaking, it's the exact same. It's people learn the knowledge, they try things, they fail a couple times before they finally make it successful. It's a recurring theme, and it's the formula probably every single successful person out there has used in their lives. Guys, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to jump off there. and end the stream a little earlier than normal. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it inspirational. I hope it motivated you, gave you some ideas, and I hope that you internalize what we discuss and go out and do something with it. Um, Oh, William has one last question before we go. Does IT Varsity close for the year end, and when will we open again? Yeah, we do close. Officially, we'll close around the 16th. I'll confirm the dates with you by next week, and then we'll open up the first week of January. I think that's the 6th. But during that time, we're not completely closed. The majority of our staff will be on leave, but myself and a few others will still be around. So if you're submitting assessments, they'll still be graded. If you have queries, they'll still be tended to. But during that time, we'll be closed because the bulk of our staff base will be off. Our manpower will be a little bit lower than normal. So it may take a while, for a little while longer, for your queries to get tended to, but we will try to get to them all the same. Will webinars still take place? No. So for those weeks, webinars will be, there won't be any webinars, and we'll pick up again next year. And with that, guys, leave you. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.